That game was ugly. Indiana won. That's a good thing. A little bit of redemption after just not a good game at all 2 days ago. They're a little bit better today as a team. Kelsey Mitchell was the MVP again. She's been the MVP of their season. Natasha Howard showed up and showed out, just like she did against Chicago. I know she had a rough game the first game against the first game 2 days ago against Atlanta, but she's going to be very good for that team. You know, she's still going to have a little bit of growing pains, but she's already done very well. DeWanna Bonner, I'm not so sure about. She still seems to be struggling to kind of find her rhythm in that offense. I know she's a veteran, and we're only 3 games into a 44-game season, but I don't know. I'm starting to kind of wonder. I do have to say that. Don't know if she's going to be there. Sophie Cunningham, we got to see the first of her, and she did amazing, I felt, in her role. Lexi Hull continues to be that person off the bench. She just, and I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing her back in the starting lineup, to be honest with you, giving her more minutes. Seems like every game, DeWanna will struggle some, and I mean, she's trying hard, and I hope she figures it out. But, right now, I think you just got to give Lexi a lot of those minutes and maybe let DeWanna come off the bench and see if that helps her at all. Maybe just kind of ease her way into the game instead of starting it like that. Like I said, I know she's a veteran, and I know this is nothing new for her, but, just kind of have to wonder. But, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull both did amazing jobs, playing defense, shooting threes, and just basically going out there and doing that. I'm going to start calling them the Hollywood Blondes. I thought about that during the game. Haven't really watched wrestling in like 10 years at least. I haven't enjoyed wrestling in about 20 years. But I loved the Hollywood Blondes when I was a kid, and obviously Steve Austin is probably my favorite wrestler ever. And I love Brian Pillman. That's a different story. I want to start calling those two the Hollywood Blondes. They did a great job. Caitlin struggled badly. It didn't matter. The team propped her up, and she finally, at the very end of the third quarter, her threes were not falling, her outside shots were not falling. She hit a really cool mid-range. I love the mid-range game, but she finally started taking it to the hole, which is what Kelsey Mitchell did all night. Her long shots weren't falling, so she just ran to the hoop and got some layups. Leah Boston didn't score much, but she was very much a factor. She's in foul trouble, which I'll get to here in a second, but just you gotta give it up for Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard. They did the job today. Kelsey Mitchell's the MVP to me for this game. Natasha Howard was right there too, and like I said, Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, I feel like really provided the kind of anchor support there. I don't know, Caitlin, her shots just haven't been falling. She just seemed a little bit, I hate to say disengaged, but I'm just going to say disengaged almost. I know she's engaged, but it's just almost like she just kind of gets frustrated and doesn't know what to do with that. I know she has a lot of expectations coming into this year after last year, now having the whole off season to work on stuff. But like I said, she's kind of got to get it together, and I believe she will. And like I said, it's a matter of time. Leah's going to, and the shot that kind of iced the game for Indy was Caitlin Clark to Leah Boston. So all was kind of right with the world there. So I'm sure they'll get it together. So Indiana wins. Atlanta Dream, they did a great job. They play very tough defense, and they bothered them. They bothered Indy, and you got to give them credit. They had some people knock down some big shots again. That's what won them the game last time. Very good shooting. The shooting wasn't quite as good tonight, and they couldn't win, even though Indiana played not as good of a game, but they came away with the W. At the end of the game, they did what they needed to do. So they lost, but they lost the first game of the season too versus a Washington team that not a lot was expected of, and just makes you wonder, how bad does the Sky suck? The Chicago Sky. The last I saw, they're down by like 20 something already to the New York Liberty. I know they're the defending champions and probably the best team in the league, but daggone, they're not even getting close. So that's a dumpster fire over there. I guess I don't know if it's in Chicago or New York, but wherever it is, I'm sure some racist Fever fans got in the building, and that's what's causing Angel Reese not to play well enough for Chicago to even be close. So we'll blame it on that, because Lord knows the WNBA is going to blame it on that, whether they have any proof whatsoever. And that brings me to the big loser, and that's the WNBA. They've just absolutely taken the air out of what was a very exciting beginning to a very anticipated season. You know, they start off this whole investigation, which we don't even know what they're investigating. I don't think they even know what they're investigating. You know, this whole hate speech. Don't know from where, when, how, why, any proof whatsoever. It's just pathetic. You know, they keep trying to be as woke as possible, and it just keeps blowing up in their damn faces. It's pathetic. They have all the momentum in the world with Caitlin Clark and this Indiana Fever team, really capturing America's attention, and they are just flushing it away. It just seems like, you know, the last two games have really not been nearly as much fun. Now, a lot of that's because of Atlanta Dream and their, you know, slog it out pace that they like to use. Just you know, slow it down, slog it out, and trash officiating both nights against the Dream. I didn't want to talk about it in the last video because I didn't want to sound like I was making excuses. Indiana did not play well enough to win. They did not play up to their potential. That's why they lost the last game. They really didn't play up to their potential today, but today was, I mean, the officiating was bad, and quite honestly, the basketball played was bad. A lot of the stereotypes for the WNBA came true. There's a lot of missed layups, point-blank missed layups. Not from Kelsey Mitchell. She makes hers, the shortest one out there. But a lot of missed layups, a lot of rebounds just bouncing around, passes to nobody. You know, they had their special court they talked about. It said, pay some respect to women's sports. Well, respect has to be earned. And the WNBA as a whole is not earning a lot of respect. They are clearly not ready for the prime time or the big lights. They have a lot of issues still out there on and off the court. And, you know, respect has to be earned. You know, they interviewed the lady who, I guess, designed the court. I can't believe they actually paid somebody for that. It looked ugly, in my opinion. They spoke to her. Seemed like a nice lady. I don't have anything against her, but, I mean, good Lord, if DEI was a person, that would be her. And, you know, it's just, you have to know just slapping a slogan on something is not going to do anything unless people really feel that. Either they're going to respect it or they're not. And, you know, like I said, the league as a whole is not doing much. The officiating, like I said, was garbage. A lot of ticky-tack calls got called, and then, you know, some pretty obvious fouls didn't get called. And it kind of went both ways this time. You know, last game it kind of seemed to favor Atlanta a lot more. This game, Indiana got away with a few, but, you know, at the same time, it's just bad, choppy, not fun. You know, it's not fun. It's not been fun to watch the last two games, and really with the overall issues with the WNBA is going through right now. Like I said, the investigation and all that. It's just there's not a lot of fun being had right now. So you know, that's something the WNBA needs to figure out, because they have a golden opportunity and they just continue to blow it every chance they get. So but like I said, good for Indy. Hopefully this can show them, you know, that they can win ugly, they can win pretty, like they did against Chicago. They can, you know, crush the bad teams like Chicago, and, you know, the scrappy, tough teams like Atlanta, they can, you know, scrap it out and be tough themselves against. So, like I said, you know, very pleased with, obviously, Kelsey Mitchell and Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard is going to do well. She might have a few more games like she had Tuesday, but I think she's going to get there. Very happy to have her. And like I said, you know, just looking forward to that. And I think, you know, now I think the season can kind of, you know, the season's still kind of feeling its way out. But, you know, after about 5 or 6 games, I think we'll really know what we got. So, congrats to Indy on the win tonight. Congrats to Kelsey and Natasha Howard and the Hollywood Blondes. But this league's got to figure something out, and they got to figure something out quick, because what they're doing is not working, and eventually we're going to get tired of it. Despite this just tremendous golden opportunity, they're going to blow it. So it's just kind of how it goes, and hopefully they'll figure it out. So thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys later.